Yeah, so late last night, yesterday evening, we found out that the FBI has actually launched an investigation into the actions of former FBI Director James Comey and former CIA Director John Brennan in whether or not they lied in both to Congress and also in pushing things like the Steele dossier to launch the investigation into then candidate Donald Trump before he was elected the first time back in 2015, 2016. Pretty big news.
Yeah, Caroline Leavitt spoke to this, basically the White House saying they're demanding transparency here. They're assuming they did, in fact, lie to Congress, but most importantly, they want answers for the American people. Here's Caroline Leavitt on that.
I'm glad to hear it because both of these disgraceful individuals turned against our Constitution and our country. And I'm sure they did, in fact, lie to Congress. And it's up to the Department of Justice to investigate that and to prosecute them if they did. And what we have seen is corruption at the highest levels against President Trump. The deep state threw everything at him to prevent him from coming back to this big, beautiful White House behind me. And he prevailed. And the truth must come out. And this administration is totally committed to transparency and to justice and to accountability. And we must have a rule of law in this country. We can't be a nation without law and order. That's what the president believes in. And I'm glad to see the Department of Justice is opening up this investigation.
Yeah, and of course, we know the Brennan probe was triggered by the CIA director, John Ratcliffe. We did reach out. Fox Digital reached out to both Comey and Brennan for comment. Neither provided one. Probably not shocking to many. But this is the White House saying, basically, we need to know if they lied to Congress, right? And we need to know if they lied to the American public. And so they're digging deeper for answers.
And it's interesting. So as Fox Digital laid this out, it turns out that Brennan was possibly lied to Congress about whether or not the Steele dossier was included in the intelligence community assessment. He had said that it wasn't, but it may have been. That's what we're probing into, and that's what this investigation is digging on Brennan. The DOJ was tight-lipped on Comey. We don't know exactly what it is that they're investigating on him, but obviously there's much more to this.
Which is why we're going to have Jonathan Turley on to talk about that, Fox News contributor. He's going to be joining us.
Another day, another win for the Trump administration. The Supreme Court giving it the green light, the administration the green light, to move ahead with plans to curb the federal workforce after lower court judges put a stop on DOGE cuts. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was the only dissenting vote, writing, quote, "This court sees fit to step in now and release the president's wrecking ball at the outset of this litigation. This decision is not only truly unfortunate, but also hubristic and senseless." Fox News contributor and GW Law professor Jonathan Turley joins us now. Professor Turley, so great to see you this morning. So hubristic is kind of an interesting word for a member of the Supreme Court to use about the president using his executive actions.
It is. It's particularly interesting from this justice. It was not long ago that Justice Barrett went after Justice Jackson for what she described as basically an imperial judiciary. And on this occasion, Jackson is alone. She couldn't even get Justice Sotomayor to sign on to this dissent. Keep in mind, what Sotomayor noted in her concurrence is that this order simply was having agencies plan for downsizing. And she said, well, we can hardly stop that. Well, yeah, Jackson believes you can. And this is part of a signature of what's becoming a type of judicial abandon that Jackson has towards the power of these courts. And, you know, we've seen this interesting progression. It was in these injunction cases. In an earlier case, Justices Sotomayor and Jackson lost Justice Kagan, who would not sign on. Now Jackson has lost Justice Sotomayor, and she is the sole dissenter.
So I want to move on to the next topic, but real quickly, what does it tell you that, you know, obviously the court is out of session, but they decided to weigh in on this, kind of sending another message about these lower court injunctions. What does all that tell you?
The court could not be more clear. This is another shot across the bow to lower courts that they've got to knock this off. They've got to stop with these injunctions. This is 6 months of delay. It could have been much longer. And the court is signaling, we're going to be on you very quickly if you continue to do these types of orders.
So onto this, it's very, we learned later yesterday evening that the FBI has launched a criminal investigation into John Brennan and James Comey. Obviously, there's a lot that is sort of unusual and probably a little bit uncomfortable about this. But when you go back and you look at what Brennan and Comey did in 2015, 2016, back before when President Trump was running the first time, it's kind of shocking the actions they took, perhaps with the direction of the Obama administration. We don't entirely know all of the details about that. But what they did to take the U.S. investigative intelligence services and turn it against the administration's main political opponent.
Well, Charlie, I think we left that comfort zone about 9 years ago. In 2016, President Obama and the Intelligence Committee were informed that Hillary Clinton was planning to unleash an attack on Trump, suggesting that he was a tool of Russia. Obama was later briefed on that. And then in 2017, you had Brennan, over the objections of people in the Intelligence Committee, including the Steele dossier, in this intelligence assessment. And keep in mind that the FBI was told early on that they were wrong about this stuff. They were wrong about pursuing some of these individuals, including an individual who was an asset of the CIA, not a spy, that was the basis for all of this. And yet, Brennan still overruled them. Now, that was not what he suggested to Congress in his testimony. As for Comey, he's all over this. And when he has been questioned in the past, the lights would go out. And he would say, in one case, it didn't ring a bell. I don't recall anyone raising the Hillary Clinton conspiracy in 2016. It's hard to imagine what would stick in your mind if that didn't. But these are very sophisticated individuals. The question is, were they too clever by half in their testimony before Congress?
Right. So the obvious charges would be lying to Congress or something like that. Are there other, like, prosecutorial abuses that they could be potentially charged with if something like that was uncovered and they had clear evidence of it?
Well, there are, but some statute of limitations have passed. Comey was involved in the leaking of information. If you recall, he took FBI material with him when he was fired, and then used a third party to get it to the media. It was a shocking violation of FBI protocols. But the key about these investigations is that you're going to have a new round of questions. And there's a law called 18 U.S.C. 1001. And that makes it a crime to give false statements to any federal investigator.
Right.
So they're going to be called again to answer these questions, and that clock will start again.
And, of course, they've used those exact same charges against other people. Jonathan Turley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.